for experimental physics. I'm sorry. Quest for always trying to do something new, liking to go down to details, uncompromising standards for quality and perfection in everything that he wants to build. Hard work, in fact, that should have been typical of a graduate student trying to make a career. Infectious, inductive, and quite often instigative, outstanding leadership qualities over decades. So many of us do not believe that age had any effect whatsoever on Naba. Honestly, how many of us would dare to take up something like INO and literally 50,000 tons of ICAL on our heads when we are close to 50? That is unique. That's why Naba, which means new, right? So for most of us, in fact, who have started working with him, she did not give us any option, rather he did not leave us any option but to try emulating him. We actually feel the influence of his strong personality on us during everything that we plan or build day to day in our labs. Even at this age and stage of his life, he continues to be one of us in the lab, on the ground, in the field, at the site, and so on. The organizing committees of the National Symposium on Particles, Detectors, and Instrumentation takes immense pleasure in felicitating him as a token of appreciation of his innumerable scientific contributions to the field of experimental high energy physics. May I now request Professor B.S. Acharya, Naba's one of the closest friends and colleagues, and also the chairperson of Department of High Energy Physics, to chair this session and conduct rest of the proceedings of this function. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. As we all know, okay, Naba, our esteemed age, he has become 60 years old. On this occasion, the local organizing committee of this symposium and also graduate students who worked with Naba and other colleagues have felt it apt to felicitate him during this conference because he has contributed on all aspects of this subject matter of this conference, namely particle physics, detector development, and instrumentation. He has left his mark in each one of these, starting with the experiments with muon and neutrino experiments at the deep underground. He moved on to proton dedicated experiment designed for searching for the decay of the protons or proton lifetimes, and then moved on to collider experiments. Okay, he had worked on collider experiments at Tevatron, both the experiments like CDF and D0, and recently with the LHC experiment, that is the CMS experiment at the LHC. Of late, he is spearheading the effort in establishing a world-class underground laboratory for the neutrino experiments, okay, in India. He has been one of the leading persons in this area. Okay. In India, when people get older, okay, it is in ancient days people would renounce the world and they would go to jungle or secluded place and get enlightenment. Okay. In a somewhat similar fashion, okay, Naba would be spending most of his further future career in a cave. Okay, I am sure when he comes out of the cave, he will be much more wiser and he will have all the answers. He will have all the answers for the neutrino puzzle. Okay. Okay. Now I will call Sudeshna to tell on behalf of the organizing committee to highlight Naba's research contributions. Sudeshna.
A little bit from everybody. on various aspects of Professor Mondal's working life, as well as some other things about what he has done. Now let me give you a little bit of the inside story, which will overlap with what people have talked about till now, but still it will be a different perspective. So I call this the inside story. So I begin with the very beginning. He was born in a village named Belut, which is close to Kolkata, and he is now working in Mumbai, just to give you a perspective. Okay, so this is his education. So he graduated high school from Bhuvan Mohan school, and after that he did his bachelor's from a college in Bardhaman. The name somehow disappeared. This is the Raj College in Bardhaman, and then he went on to do his master's in the University of Bardhaman. And I was told that he stood first in the whole university and had record marks for quite a while. So he did a great job there, and after that he joined the Tata Institute in 1977 and obtained his PhD degree. At that time Tata Institute could not give degrees, so it had to be associated with the University of Mumbai. So he got his PhD degree from the University of Mumbai, but worked in TIFR in 1983. So and here is everybody has talked about this experiment, but since this was his thesis experiment, I will also say a few things. So he was associated with this experiment from the very beginning and took a leading role in the design, construction, as well as the analysis of data, and somehow it has come out a bit dark, but here he is, and here is his advisor, who is also in the audience today, Professor Narasimham. And so they are standing in front of the KGF detector, and also here he is one of his with his close friend and colleague who could not come to this conference because of some other problems. This is Hayashi-san from Japan. So his thesis was on proton decays. They looked for proton going to electron and some other meson, and the decay of the meson and the electron were searched for in these detectors. Actually, there are huge arrays of proportional counters. They looked for neutrino interactions, cosmic muons, and also the proton decay search. And these proportional counters are still being used actually in the experiment at UTI these days. So they have had a long life, and they will still continue. So after this, in the 1980s, he moved to US for a few years and worked in the Argonne National Lab, and after that at the CDF experiment at the Tevatron. So you have heard about these from Maury and Jim's talk yesterday. So he was involved in detector development and also doing physics in the underground experiments at Sudan mine, and after that at Tevatron, the CDF experiment. So his involvement with the Tevatron continues. In 1991, Professor Narasimham, he and the rest of the group joined the D0 collaboration, and we at that time, actually about 3 years later, I also joined from D0. From Fermilab, and he met me in D0, and then I joined TIFR and D0. So we built this huge array of the muon system. This is the outer cover, the muon scintillation counters, which helped us in avoiding the cosmic rays, and also for a fast trigger with the muons in this D0 experiment. And here is a picture of the assembly hall and the counting room of D0, and he is standing in front. So, and here this picture you have already seen yesterday in Harrison's talk. He, along with another colleague from Fermilab, they are installing the muon system. So after this, I move on to the CMS detector, where also he was involved from the very beginning actually. So in 1996 onwards, our group started doing test beam activity, and then after that we joined the CMS HCAL group, and actually we built part of the Hadron outer barrel calorimeter, which is here. You can see the location. So this is actually here, and then this is the expanded view, and these elements, they are made up of very small scintillator tiles, and there are 72 of these huge things, and he was the technical coordinator throughout the design, the fabrication and the packaging, and then sending them off to CERN. Throughout this whole process he was the technical coordinator of our group, and he did a great job. We finished everything in time, and they were quality check turned out to be okay, and these detectors are now working in the CMS assembly and taking data. It has already collected quite a bit of data and it is continuing. So they are doing a great job actually, and this was all under his guidance. So then comes the Neutrino Observatory. You have seen all these pictures and heard a lot about this. So all I will mention is this is the site, which is the new site after a lot of fights over other problems in other sites. So finally we have managed to get a permanent place, and this is one of our ICAL stacks of RPCs, which is sitting upstairs in this building itself, and it's just a part of this huge cartoon picture, and ultimately this whole stack will just fit in here somewhere and it will be multiplied. So and right now this stack is working beautifully for the past several years actually, and students are constantly doing experiments on this. So right now, because this is only what we have, so we are taking cosmic data using this, and we are using this to make tracks of the muons and other charged particles, and learning a lot about the simulation software by comparing with data. So it is working very well, and a similar stack but with bigger size RPCs is now in the new lab outside the TIFR campus gates. So this has been an endeavor completely under his guidance, and it is going forward beautifully. So no professor's life is complete without his students. So I mentioned all of his past students here. I am not mentioning any of the new ones because you will see all of them right here. They are here and they will be more visible to you soon. So I mentioned the past ones here. So I start with the oldest one, which is H.C. Shankar. He was one of the first student members of our group in the D0 experiment, and after that came Nirmalya, and then Ambarish, Supriya, Josna, and finally Piali. So along with these students, he actually played a leading role in the analysis of the data collected by the D0 detector. Actually, so Josna did a search for the Higgs in the very early days of D0. Piali was involved in the studies of large extra dimensions. Ambarish studied the contact interactions using D0 data. Nirmala and Shankar were both involved in searching for SUSY, R parity conserving and R parity violating. So we did a complete job there. And Supriya, of course, was as you heard yesterday in Harrison's talk, she was in the single top analysis group. So we published many papers together and had a very fruitful years in D0. So this is from the students' perspective. I had asked them to write something about Professor Mondal, and they have written back. And what is very evident from this is that he used to be a very nice and caring professor, and he did a good job making lots of food for them, which was, they really appreciated because they were new and didn't know how to cook. So some burnt their chapatis and he really taught them how to do it. And so, do you know this guy? So okay, so he is a man of many talents, as we have already seen from previous speakers' talks and also the other slides in this talk. So of course we have all heard him speak on many different subjects. He is a good speaker, and his son Deepan can say how good a chess player he is, but I am sure he is pretty good. And also maybe he knows some ventriloquism. This is a talent that not many of us have. So in the course of his career, he had to interact with many dignitaries and politicians. So here is our ex-president Kalam, And here is the Atomic Energy Commission Chairman Kakotkar, and this is Dr. Saini from RRCAT, he is the director of RRCAT. So many such discussions and meetings had to be held for the starting of INO and also other experiments. So he was equally good with friends and colleagues. I mean, there are several parties generally at his home and outside. So here again there is a picture of Hayashi-san. These are members of our group. So you will see him in the audience. He will give a talk later, Shashi. And here is Professor Acharya, who is you have heard a little bit before. So all these, the CMS Collaboration Board. He is of course the spokesperson of the INO collaboration, and also he is a part of this International Design Study for Neutrino Factory Steering Group, and also this Astroparticle Physics International Forum. So he is in many international committees like this. So as you can see that he is really multi-talented. He does a good job with his experiments as well as the other aspects of his life. So I come to my last slide. Oh, this has really become a mystery. So here was the face of what Jim Freeman showed yesterday. Actually that was Amitabh Bachchan from Bollywood, and after looking at his whole life and achievements, I would really equate him to that, and the picture somehow missed in PDF. So happy birthday, Professor Mondal.
To offer him a bouquet of flowers, Professor Mondal. Professor Mondal received his PhD thesis with under the guidance of Professor Narasimham. I will request Professor Narasimham to honor him with this shawl.